Greetings VC, Andy here again, and this is a sort of continuation in the series I've started where I'm looking at 10 favourite albums from a particular genre. So I started with progressive rock, then I did art rock, and because they're sort of adjacent, aren't they? But also I think adjacent to them is post-rock, which is what I'm going to do today. So this is a real tough one because post-rock is one of my favourite genres, and I have a lot of post-rock records, and particularly a lot from a few specific bands, and I have limited myself to just one, which was really hard from any one band here. I've got a live album at the end, and I'm not doing any honourable mentions on this one for a couple of reasons. One is that a couple of the bands that I would have done are, you know, arguably they're one of them is more psych rock than post rock, even though they're there, and another is probably a bit shoegazy. So I might well cover those when I do those genres. Anyway, let's get started. So coming in, so these are all ranked, I would say, only in my opinion of what I like. So coming in at number 10 is the band Tortoise and their album Millions Now Living Will Never Die, which came out in 1996. So it's one of the relatively early post-rock records. Let me skip back a bit so you can see that. So this is their second studio release, and of course Tortoise come from Chicago. Interestingly, the title of the track, the title of the album is named after a book by Judge Rutherford, who was one of the early members of senior members of the Jehovah's Witness group. The book was written 100 years ago, pretty well. I think it might have been 2025. It's around then anyway, a long time ago. I mean, Tortoise are a lot of people's sort of favourites, but I like them, but just they languish towards the end of my favourites, so I won't dwell on it. It's a nice album though. Coming in at number 9, probably the least known of these, but a really interesting band, and the band is called Yndi Halda, and the album came out in 2006 and is called Enjoy Eternal Bliss. And in a way, it is self-titled because Yndi Halda, as with a Y at the beginning, is actually Old Norse for enjoy eternal bliss. And of course, Old Norse, so which bit of Scandinavia do they come from? Well, they don't. They come from Canterbury in Kent, though they're not part of the prog Canterbury scene. They've only had a couple of 2 or 3 records. As I say, this was their debut. And it's officially, this is an EP. It's an EP that lasts well over an hour and takes up, it's just got 4 long tracks on it, which is maybe why they're calling it an EP, but it takes up all 4 sides of a double LP. Yeah, I worked that one out, but post-rock can be a bit weird at times. This is a lovely album if you've never heard them. You've got sweeping strings. It's not so much orchestration. It's one of the members is a violinist, basically. It's mostly instrumental, though there are some sort of nice vocal harmonies, but they're more sort of almost instrumental voices rather than singing voices. If you know post-rock bands, to me, the closest one I think they are is Mono, who I will be coming to later. It's probably because of the strings and so on, though they're very classic. It's got those sort of crescendos which you get with post-rock. A really, really nice album. It's one I pick out every now and then, and it's one just to listen to and relax, and it's a beautiful album. Far less relaxing, quite a challenging album, but a very good one all the same, is by the band Swans, and this is their album The Seer, which came out in 2012. This is, I mean, Swans have been around forever, and this is their 12th studio album, you know, back then. And they sort of, Swans sort of started out in the 80s, I think quite early 80s, and but they then went into a hiatus in the, you know, I'm not sure when, but it had a few years off, and came back an entirely different proposition, and largely in sort of post-rock. They're led by one Michael Gira, comes from New York, and he described this album as being the accumulation, or the, not sure what the right word is, of 30 years of them making records, and every record they've made somewhere is, you know, an influence to this. I don't really, this was the first time I heard them. I got a digital download of this album originally, and was amazed by it. And it is huge, it's massive, there's really long tracks on it. The album lasts 2 hours. This vinyl LP is a triple, not surprisingly. You know, the title track is over half an hour long and is split across. And interestingly, the track order on this vinyl LP is different to the track order on the CD and the digital download. The CD is a double CD. And I presume that is to, you know, to get it to fit on three, you know, 3 vinyl LPs, because it's squeezed onto that. It's so long, but it's really good, and you know, it's difficult to describe. It's very challenging, Swan stuff. You've got a bit of everything in here. You know, yes, you've got singing, you've got instrumentation, you've got soaring guitars. You've got everything. It isn't an easy listen, but it is a rewarding listen. And interestingly, Swans produced their last album called The Birthing in 2025, and have gone into another hiatus, and will come back. Apparently, if they do come back, quite different, so they won't be doing anything remotely post-rock, apparently, should they come back. So coming in at number 7, and this album is not the most famous or favourite generally of this band, but I sort of somehow like this slightly better than Hex. And of course I'm talking about the band Bark Psychosis, and this is their second, well, I think they've only made 2 albums. It's called Codename Dustsucker. It came out in 2004, 10 years after the debut, of course, which was Hex. And I've talked about that quite a lot of times. Bark Psychosis come from London, England, and the real connection here is the term post-rock was coined by a music journalist called Simon Reynolds, he used it to describe this band when he was doing a review of their debut album Hex. You know, that was arguably the first post-rock album actually nominated as a post-rock, and this is a great album, and it's a full double, and very good too. So moving on, and coming in at number 6, and one of the most famous post-rock albums ever, by Godspeed You Black Emperor. Who hail from Montreal in Quebec in Canada. Now, if you forgive me, I call this album Fuck All Forever. And the reason for that, because I can't pronounce it exactly, the album is titled F# or hashtag, but you know, it's probably sharp because this came out in 1997 before you had hashtags and social media and all that stuff. So F#, A#, and then the sort of an 8 on its side, the eternity symbol. So hence FA, forever, eternity. It's a single LP, it's the debut, and it just has 2 tracks on it. One on each side, East Hastings and Dead Flag Blues. And I have to say, this album is the 2 tracks are the most dystopian songs I think I have ever heard. And one of them, I think it was East Hastings, rather appropriately, was part of the soundtrack to Danny Boyle's very dystopian zombie flick 28 Days Later. And but it's great. I mean, this is a love it or hate it. When my sister comes to visit, I put this on because it freaks her out. She hates it so much. Yeah, siblings. Fabulous record. And Godspeed You Black Emperor have had various stages, have had no exclamation mark, an exclamation mark in the middle after Godspeed You Black Emperor. But in his first days, it was an exclamation mark at the end. You can't see that because it's all actually embossed on there. So number 5, and we this has got an interesting story as well, and it is Explosions in the Sky, who hail from Austin, Texas, and this is their 2001 album, and the date is quite important. Those who tell the truth shall die. Those who tell the truth shall live forever. And you know, let's get. I mean, this is fabulous. This is one of the first post-rock albums I got. Again, I had it as a digital download probably about 2 or 3 years after it came out. And side A, not the track, but each side. It's only a single LP with several tracks, six or 7 tracks, I think. But the or 8. Each side has a subtitle or is titled, and side A is called Help Us Stay Alive, and side B is This Plane Will Crash Tomorrow. And supposedly the album was released on the 10th of September 2001, which of course is the day before the Twin Towers crashes. So, and there was a lot, you know, conspiracy theories. Again, this was really before social media. So I can imagine what the conspiracy theories would have been in social media times. And you can see the picture of the plane coming in and angels and so on. Actually, it wasn't released on the 10th. It was released on the 4th, but still a week before. But and it was recorded, I think, in 2000. So it's got nothing to do with it. But it's a really spooky and rather unfortunate, connection there. But it's a great album. It's one of my favourites. I find Explosion in the Sky probably the most accessible of the post-rock bands, and and this to me is their best album. So that's that, and down to number 4, and the earliest. So to me this is, people talk about Talk being the sort of the first post-rock albums. I don't really. I see them as art rock. I think they are. You can see where they're going, but to me, it's not classic post-rock. To me, this one is the first classic post-rock album, and it is by Slint, and their second and last album, last year, I think so, Spiderland, which came out in 1991. And they come from Louisville, Kentucky, and it's very, very unusual. So you've got 2 vocalists, and they play a mixture of, they both sing and they both speak, but in different ways. So you've got sort of like hush spoken word vocals, you've got some singing, and you've got sort of even screams going on in there. Very unusual sort of angular guitar riffs going on, tremendous lyrics, and an absolutely beautiful and spellbinding record, very, very influential. And the day after this was released, I think McMahon, I think his name was, one of the leaders, guitarist and singer, basically put himself into a mental hospital, a mental home, because he was suffering from severe depression, and the band all folded after that. Some great songs on here. It opens with Breadcrumb Trail and closes with Good Morning Captain, which is which is brilliant. And the album cover is very, very famous, but less well known is that this photo was taken by Will Oldham, who of course is Bonnie Prince Billy, who also comes from Louisville, Kentucky, and was a friend of one of their mates basically. And he took a number of photos in this of them in this quarry, and this is the one they used on the album. So now we're up to the top 3 now, and coming in. To be fair, I could have done these in any order, but I'm sort of like sticking with these because it tends to be how I think. And coming in at number 3 is the band Mono, and this is which album is it? I think it's their 5th album, and is called Hymn to the Immortal Wind. No, not that wind. And Mono hail from Tokyo in Japan. And I think this is undoubtedly to me their best record, and it opens with absolutely magnificent and very epic Ashes in the Snow. They have a very unique style. So the guitar style, the 2 guitarists, you've got lead guitar I'm just going to use their nicknames because I can't pronounce the Japanese, as Taka. And rhythm guitar is Yoda. No, not that Yoda. But the way they play together in a sort of twin guitar attack, and very intense, is quite unique. But it gives their songs a sort of uniqueness. And then you've got sort of behind them, you've got Tamaka, the very lovely Tamaka, who is she's the bassist essentially. Has sung on the odd one, but it's essentially instrumental. But she's a multi-instrumentalist, so she plays keyboards, and they have sometimes with all of them playing, they have a penchant for the glockenspiel, and they also like an orchestra. So you always get a lot of orchestration and live, which we may well be coming to, with small orchestras, strings and brass. And this one is very resplendent on orange. So we're coming in at number 2, and who is it? I'm going for my number 2, Sigur Ros, who of course hail from Reykjavik in Iceland. And this was a real difficult one to decide, because I was umming and ahhing between 3 albums, but I'm going for the one which I think is probably the most post-rock. Is one of the classics of the genre, and this is, I always call it the Alien Embryo album because I can't pronounce it, but it is, excuse me while I read this, Agitis Burjon, which came out in 1999. The title means new beginnings apparently in Icelandic. And this, as I say, was their 2nd album. It was quite a departure from the first, Fon, which was sort of fairly ambient and an okay album. But this 2nd one just took them in a different direction. It was the first where the guitarist and singer, Yonsei, plays it's a trademark now, playing his guitar with a cello bow. Also the first album where the keyboardist, Kjartan Svansson, again, can't pronounce, sorry, first appeared. And the very first time that the made-up language of what they call Hopelandic appears on any of the tracks. So it's actually only on a small section of the title track. And this is really, really good post-rock. It's got all the features of it. My favourite album of them, or the one I'm sort of most fond of, is the 3rd album, which follows this, which it's known as the Brackets album. It's actually untitled. I call it, of course, the Parenthesis album, which is entirely, I mean, that was my introduction to Sigur Ros and post-rock, to be honest, and I was so wowed by it, and that's got Icelandic all the way through. Later, 4th or 5th album, Attack, is probably their most complete album, and certainly has the best packaging. But I'm talking post-rock here, not Sigur Ros's best albums, and this I think is there. So we come to my number one, and this will be no surprise to anyone at all, and it is Mogwai. And their debut album, Young Team, which came out in 1997. Mogwai, obviously from Glasgow in Scotland. And this is superb. Just so I can listen to this anytime. And it finishes, this is a double album on very nice blue with a red label. And it finishes on the absolutely epic Mogwai Fear Satan, which is possibly one of my favourite songs of any genre anywhere. So that's my top 10. Before I go, live album. I'm going for Mono again, and this is a very new one. This only came out in 2025, and it is called Forever Home, and it was recorded live in Tokyo with the orchestra Pit Razor. So again, it's orchestra, and this is magnificent. And it's got some of their greatest tracks on there. Essentially, it was recorded the very last gig in their tour of their last released album, Oath. And I actually saw them a month or two before they did this. They played a slot in a gig in London, which I went to see, and it was magnificent. And got the T-shirt. This is absolutely epic. It's a triple LP. It's that long. It's got a lot of tracks on it. I mean, the last three tracks are three of their favourites. Time Goes By is 11 minutes long. Ashes in the Snow, magnificent Ashes in the Snow, 13 minutes, and the final one, Everlasting Light, 14 and a half minutes. So these are epic. And they've got a new album coming out in a month or two, this year anyway, and I've pre-ordered it. So, I'm a bit of a completist when it comes to mono, so absolutely superb. So there you go, thanks for that. Now, final comment is, if you're wondering where my the second of my March new releases is, I said I would do one because I've got 5 to do. I've decided not to, because when I've actually ended up listening to it, 3 of the 5 records are okay, but I will only be sort of damning them with faint praise. I'm not excited enough about them to really talk about them. There's a couple I am, but I'll weave those into next month. So thanks for watching. Cheers.